Did you know that a simple 5-word prayer has the power to heal? It was spoken over 3,000 years ago by the prophet Moses, and since then, it has been used to cure both physical and spiritual ailments. But this prayer is not just about the words themselves. Its power lies in the intention and humility with which it is spoken. Today, I will reveal its profound meaning and show you how you can use it to help heal your loved ones. If you're looking for a way to bring healing and hope into your life, keep watching because what you learn here could change everything. To understand the power and depth of this prayer, we first need to transport ourselves back to a key moment in biblical history more than 3,300 years ago. We find ourselves in the midst of the exodus of the Israelites, after they had been freed from slavery in Egypt by the hand of God through the leadership of Moses. At this moment, Moses was not just a political or military leader. He was a spiritual guide, a prophet, and the mediator between God and his people. But as in any great story, even the greatest of leaders face moments of conflict and challenges in their personal relationships, even with their own family. The story behind this powerful prayer is found in the book of Numbers, chapter 12, and it presents a conflict between Moses and his 2 siblings, Miriam and Aaron. To provide context, Miriam was not a minor figure. She played a crucial role in the events of the Exodus. She watched over Moses when, as a baby, his mother placed him in a basket on the Nile River to save him from Pharaoh's decree. Miriam also led the women of Israel in song and dance after crossing the Red Sea, following God's parting of the waters to allow the Israelites to escape the Egyptian army. Aaron, on the other hand, was the high priest responsible for the religious and spiritual duties of the people, and he was Moses' voice when he stood before Pharaoh. Together, these 3 siblings formed a formidable team, chosen by God to lead the people through the wilderness to the Promised Land. However, as often happens in human relationships, conflict arose. Miriam and Aaron began to speak poorly of Moses, criticizing his marriage to a Cushite woman. It is unclear whether their criticism was related to her ethnicity or other circumstances of the marriage. But what we do know is that Miriam and Aaron began to question Moses' leadership and decisions. This is what in Hebrew is called lashon hara, meaning evil speech, or more commonly, slander or gossip. Speaking ill of someone, especially without just cause, was and is considered a serious sin in Jewish tradition, as it not only harms the person being spoken about, but also affects the speaker and the community as a whole. But in this case, what makes Miriam's sin even more significant is that she was questioning Moses, the man whom God had chosen to lead the entire nation of Israel. And not only that, she was questioning his relationship with God, suggesting that she and Aaron also received divine messages and that there was no reason Moses should be considered so special. This act of arrogance and disrespect toward Moses, and ultimately toward God, did not go unnoticed. God's anger was kindled against Miriam and Aaron. In the Bible, God calls the 3 siblings out of the camp and appears in a cloud, the symbol of his divine presence. It is at this moment that God defends Moses, declaring that he is different from all other prophets, as Moses speaks to God face to face, without intermediaries, and that his humility makes him the most suitable to bear the heavy burden of leading Israel. As a result of Miriam's sin, God punishes her with a dreaded disease in ancient times. Leprosy, or zeret, is mentioned in the Hebrew text. It is important to understand what this disease truly meant in that context. Zeret, which in many modern translations is referred to as leprosy, was a physical condition that affected the skin, but it also had profound spiritual and social implications. Those afflicted with zeret were considered impure, and due to its contagious nature and purity laws, they were isolated from the community. In Miriam's case, leprosy was not just a physical illness. It was a visible punishment from God for her behavior. She was immediately cast out of the camp, separated from her family, friends, and the people she had served for so many years. This type of isolation not only caused physical suffering, but also profound emotional and spiritual desolation. Now, in the midst of all this, you might expect Moses, the brother who had been criticized and dishonored by Miriam, to hold a grudge or simply let the punishment run its course. After all, Miriam had sinned against him, and the punishment was just. But this is where we see Moses' greatness. Instead of reveling in his vindication or demanding more punishment, Moses does something that perhaps none of us would have expected. He cries out to God with a prayer full of humility and compassion, asking for his sister's healing. It is here that the 5-word prayer emerges. El na rifa nala, which translates to please God, heal her now. Moses does not ask for his honor to be restored or for Miriam to be forgiven for her actions. He simply pleads with God from the depths of his heart to heal his sister. This act of humility, of praying for the well-being of someone who had wronged him, gives us a powerful lesson about the true nature of compassion and forgiveness. What is most surprising is that Moses, who had been capable of praying for 40 days and 40 nights for the well-being of the entire nation of Israel after the sin of the golden calf, uses only 5 words in this instance. Why so few? Because when one prays from the purity and humility of the heart, long speeches are unnecessary. These 5 words were enough to reach the heart of God and activate his mercy. However, though God hears Moses' prayer, he does not heal Miriam immediately. Instead, he commands that she remain outside the camp for 7 days, the time required by law for someone with leprosy to be deemed pure again. This time of isolation was both a punishment and an opportunity for reflection and repentance. But the important thing here is that God tempered the judgment. Instead of Miriam suffering a more severe or prolonged punishment, God heard Moses' prayer and shortened her purification time to just 7 days. This shows us that although judgment and the consequences of our actions are often unavoidable, prayer and divine mercy can alleviate and shorten the suffering. This prayer begins with El, which is one of the names of God. In Jewish tradition, each name of God reflects a different aspect of his divine nature. El, in particular, is associated with grace, goodness, and mercy. Moses, in this moment, is not invoking God from the attribute of justice or judgment. Instead, he is calling upon the God of infinite kindness, asking that his action be based not on Miriam's merit or righteousness, but on the unconditional love and compassion God has for his children. This is the first great lesson we can take from this prayer. When we approach God, it is not always in search of justice, but often in search of mercy, of that love that transcends judgment and manifests in healing. The next word is na, which in Hebrew means please. It is a small word, but its humility is immense. Moses, the leader of the Israelites, the man who had spoken directly with God on Mount Sinai, approaches him with complete humility. He does not demand, he does not command. Instead, he pleads with respect and reverence. Na is a sincere request, a plea. This word teaches us something very important. When we ask God for healing or anything else, we must do so from a place of humility, acknowledging that we have no right to demand anything, but that everything we receive is an act of divine grace. This please also reflects the proper attitude we should adopt when praying for others. Moses, despite being a man with an intimate relationship with God, does not take for granted that his plea will be answered. He recognizes that healing is a gift, an act of kindness that God freely grants. This detail invites us to reflect on how we make our prayers, not from ego or entitlement, but from humility and recognition of our smallness before the divine. Rifa is the word that means heal. Here, Moses is being direct in his request. He asks for healing. He does not ask for riches, power, or revenge. He asks for one simple yet crucial thing, that his sister be restored to health. In this word is encapsulated the purest desire to see someone healed from their pain and suffering. By using the verb in the imperative, Moses is not being demanding, but focused. This word, so concise and clear, reflects Moses' unwavering faith in God's power to heal. He does not doubt that God has the ability to bring healing to his sister. He is simply channeling that power through a simple but confident plea. This word, rifa, is also a lesson for us. When we pray for someone, we should be clear in our intention. Moses does not surround his request with elaborate speeches. He asks for what is necessary: healing, Sometimes the most effective prayers are not the longest ones, but those that come from the heart, centered and focused on what we truly need. Interestingly, Moses repeats the word "na." Once again, he says, "Please." Why does he repeat this plea? There are several interpretations. One is that Moses is intensifying his request. The repetition emphasizes the urgency and sincerity of his plea. It is as if Moses is saying, "Please, I ask again, hear my plea." Repetition in Hebrew, especially in biblical texts, holds special power. It is not just an emphasis, but a way of adding emotional and spiritual depth to the prayer. Moses is making a double plea, not because he doubts God's goodness, but because he deeply feels the need for his sister, and he wants to ensure that his plea is fully heard. Finally, we come to La, which means to her. This word, though simple, is highly significant. Moses is not asking for healing for himself, nor to receive any recognition for his plea. His prayer is entirely selfless, focused on the healing of his sister. This small detail reminds us that the most powerful prayers are those made for others, from love and compassion. Moses is placing his sister above his own interests and feelings, demonstrating a generosity and unconditional love that are essential for an effective prayer. This word also carries important spiritual resonance. In Jewish tradition, praying for others is considered an act of great virtue. By interceding for his sister, Moses shows us the power of intercessory prayer, one that is not centered on oneself but on others. And not only that, but in the structure of the prayer, La appears at the end, highlighting that the focus is entirely on her well-being, on her recovery. In the end, what makes this prayer so powerful is not just the fact that it was spoken by Moses or that it healed Miriam from a devastating leprosy. What makes it special is the perfect combination of humility, compassion, and unwavering faith in God's goodness. Moses was not just asking for healing. He was asking from the purest place in his heart, with no ego, no resentment, only love and a deep desire to see his sister restored. This is the greatest lesson we can take from this prayer. When we ask with faith, humility, and love for others, our prayers have a power beyond what we can comprehend. Now that we understand the profound meaning of Moses' prayer, let's explore how we can apply it in our daily lives in a concrete and meaningful way. One traditional method is by using water, an element that has been considered a symbol of life, purity, and renewal since ancient times. It's not that the water itself holds magical power, but the act of using it along with the prayer creates a tangible connection between the spiritual and the physical, helping us manifest our healing intention in a more palpable way. The use of water in spirituality is not new. In fact, in many traditions, including Jewish and Christian ones, water has been seen as a medium through which blessing, purification, and spiritual renewal are transmitted. From the ancient ritual immersions in mikvehs in Jewish tradition to baptism in Christianity, water represents much more than a simple liquid. It is a vehicle of the divine. So how can we integrate this symbolism into our personal practice using Moses' prayer? First, it's important to understand why water is so symbolically powerful. Water has the capacity to purify, cleanse, and renew. In nature, we see how water washes the earth, nourishes plants, and sustains life. Similarly, on a spiritual level, water can be seen as a symbol of the renewal of the soul and the healing of the body. In the context of Moses' prayer, the water acts as a bridge that connects our faith with the healing process. By using water in combination with the prayer, we are bringing our spiritual intention into the physical realm, creating an act of faith that goes beyond the verbal and mental. Next, I'll guide you through a simple ritual that you can perform at home, using this 5-word prayer and a container of water. Remember, the power of this ritual doesn't lie in the water itself, but in the intention and faith you put into every step of the process. Here are the steps to perform it. 1. Choose a container of clean water. The first step is to find a container of clean and pure water. It can be a glass, a bottle, or a bowl. The important thing is that it is water specifically intended for this purpose. If possible, use fresh and natural water, but what matters most is that it is water you consider pure. 2. Find a quiet place. Look for a space where you can perform the ritual in peace, without distractions. This place should be an environment that invites peace and spiritual connection. You can light a candle or play soft background music if you like, whatever helps you center and focus on the intention of healing. 3. Recite Moses' prayer. Once you're ready, take the container of water in your hands. Look at it as a symbol of life and purity, and begin to recite Moses' prayer. El Nari Fa Nala. Each time you say a word, let a drop of water fall into another container, or let a small amount of the water touch your fingers or a surface. This symbolic act of releasing a drop with each word reinforces your intention, representing the idea that each word carries spiritual and physical weight. 4. Clear and sincere intention. As you recite the prayer and let the drops of water fall, focus your heart on the person or situation you are praying for healing. It can be for yourself or for someone else. The key here is that this prayer is not about mechanically repeating words, but about putting all your love and compassion into each word you speak. Visualize the healing. Imagine that the water carries your petition directly to the Creator, filled with faith. 5. Keep the blessed water. Once you have completed the prayer, keep the water you used. If you are praying for someone who is ill, you can offer them this water to drink. Again, it's not that the water itself has healing powers, but the act of drinking the water that has been accompanied by sincere prayer can enhance the person's faith. This can act as a catalyst for the healing process, helping the person connect more deeply with their faith and hope for recovery. 6. Repeat the process if necessary. If you feel it's necessary, you can repeat this ritual over several days. In Kabbalistic tradition, it is suggested to do this for 10 consecutive days, especially if you are praying for a serious situation. Each morning, before the sun rises, recite the prayer, release the drops of water, and keep the blessed water to give to the ill person. Using water as part of this prayer is a way to materialize our faith, to bring the spiritual into the tangible. It reminds us that faith is not something abstract, but it can manifest through our actions and intentions. This small gesture of praying over the water and offering it to those who are ill is a way of saying, I see you, I care about your pain, and I am praying for your healing with all my heart. In the end, the most important thing is not the ritual itself, but the love and compassion we put into each step of the process. One of the most important aspects we need to understand about healing is that it is not always immediate. In the story of Moses and Miriam, God heard Moses' plea and granted mercy to his sister. However, her healing did not happen instantly. Miriam still had to spend 7 days outside the camp, isolated because of her leprosy, before being fully restored. This detail, though it may seem minor, teaches us a profound lesson about the process of healing, both physical and spiritual. Many times, when we pray for healing, whether for ourselves or for someone else, we expect immediate results. We want to see the pain disappear right away, the illness cured in that moment, the suffering cease. However, the path to healing does not always follow our timelines or expectations. There is a process at work, one that often goes beyond what we can comprehend, and it requires patience, faith, and above all, trust that God is working in our lives, even when we don't see it immediately. It's important to recognize that healing is not always a single, miraculous event, but a process that can take time. When we or someone close to us is going through an illness or emotional challenge, the healing process can take time. Sometimes, what seems like a delay is simply part of the divine plan to teach us something deeper. It's a time that invites us to reflect on our lives, our relationships, our priorities, and in many cases, our faith. Sometimes the purpose of healing is not just physical restoration, but the spiritual growth that occurs during that waiting period. Patience is one of the hardest virtues to cultivate during a healing process, especially in a world that seeks quick results. In the spiritual realm, patience is key, as it can be a test of our faith. Even though we may not see immediate results, we must trust that God is working. Patience doesn't mean waiting passively, but maintaining active hope. trusting in the divine plan, even if we don't fully understand it. In Jewish tradition, there is a concept called sweetening the judgment, which is very relevant to understanding the healing process. The idea is that sometimes it is not possible to completely avoid judgment or suffering, but we can pray that the judgment be sweetened, meaning that the suffering be reduced or softened. In the case of Miriam, her healing process lasted 7 days instead of the 14 that would have been required according to the law. God, in His mercy, sweetened the judgment, shortening her time of isolation and suffering. The same can happen in our lives. We may not always be able to completely avoid pain or illness, but through prayer and faith, we can ask that the suffering be eased, that the waiting time be shortened, that the process be less painful. One of the great lessons from Miriam's story is that waiting can be transformative. During those 7 days outside the camp, Miriam was not just physically healing, but likely reflecting on her actions, on her relationship with Moses and with God. This waiting period allowed her to look within herself and grow spiritually. Similarly, when we are in a healing process, that waiting can be a valuable time to look inward, to ask ourselves, what can I learn from this experience? How can I come out of this stronger spiritually? Sometimes, the deepest transformations happen in the heart and mind during moments of waiting. The healing process, while not always immediate, offers us the opportunity to trust more in God, to let go of control, and to develop a deeper gratitude for life. Miriam's story teaches us that although healing may take time, God always hears our prayers, and the process is in motion, even if we don't see it. Keeping faith and love is key, as sincere prayer can restore not only the body, but also the spirit. I invite you to make this prayer a personal and constant part of your life. Recite it with love, faith, and trust, not only in difficult times, but also in moments of gratitude or when you want to connect more deeply with God. This prayer can not only bring physical healing, but also restore your emotions, relationships, and lost hopes. Remember that healing, though not always immediate, is in God's hands. He cares for you and guides you toward the restoration you need. With each prayer, with each act of love and faith, you draw closer to that healing process. So today, carry these 5 words deep in your heart. No matter the size of the challenges you face, trust that healing, though you may not see it yet, is already on its way. God hears you, heals you, and His mercy always accompanies you. The story of Moses and his healing prayer teaches us how a simple yet powerful connection to God can transform our lives. Through faith, compassion, and spiritual focus, we can release blockages that prevent divine energy from flowing through us and into those we care about. If you're seeking a way to take this spiritual connection even deeper, the 8th chakra, known as the Soul Star Chakra, offers a direct path to the divine. Do you want to connect directly with God and unlock His infinite abundance? The 8th chakra is your direct link to the divine, clearing negative energy and allowing God's prosperity to flow freely into your life. By using 8D sound waves, which surround you from all directions, you can release blockages in this powerful chakra and experience true transformation. Just listen to the 8D audio for 8 to 10 minutes a day and let the magic happen. Thousands have already transformed their lives with the 8th chakra code, and now it's your turn. Simply put on your headphones, press play, and watch as your life begins to change. Click the link in the description to secure your copy of the 8th chakra code and receive a free gift, the number 1 healing frequency and the love frequency to help you attract your soulmate. Don't miss this chance. Start your transformation today. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Share it with someone you think might benefit from it, and leave your comment below. I would love to know. Had you heard of this powerful and miraculous prayer before watching this video? Have you had any experience with it or with other prayers in your life? Tell me. Also, feel free to interact with others who have already commented, sharing their stories and experiences. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And don't leave without checking out the next video I've linked here, where you'll find more teachings for your spiritual journey. See you soon, and remember, there is always light in the midst of any darkness.